Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, a Volkswagen Golf Drive Day Special Edition. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew.
I've just realised a Volkswagen Golf Drive was itself a special edition.
Yes. Now you say it. That's very good.
I got halfway through reading it and it was like, oh.
Unintentional yet again from us in the Motoring Podcast.
Actually, the Mark II Volkswagen Golf Drive with its nice silver steelies, the holes around the rim, the flat cap, probably my favourite Volkswagen Golf Special Edition. How sad is that I actually have a favourite Volkswagen Golf Special Edition?
Well, it's not surprising, and we'll go into that probably a little bit in when we go further into whatever this special edition is meant to be.
Okie doke. Well, this is your gig this time, so why don't you tell us what this special edition is meant to be, Andrew?
Yes, I escaped the cracked windscreen household for a day, thanks to the invitation from Volkswagen to meet up with them at Cafe and Machine near Stratford-upon-Avon. And they were discussing the refresh and basically media drive of the refresh of the Mark 8 Golf. So it's Mark 8.5 now.
All right. I have lost track.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. What happened is we had a presentation. We got a chance to speak to the product manager for them, as well as the various members of the PR team. And then we were let loose on the roads locally. They gave us some local destinations we could try to go to, but basically we were allowed to go out and have a drive in the various specs of cars that they had on offer for us.
There are some decent driving roads out that way as well.
It wasn't too bad. Some of the locations they picked as highlights were good for photographs and things like that as well. And the weather was superb. One of the rare days. Realistically, you're only in the car for about an hour. Whilst I did leap from different spec to a different spec and different configurations, this is very much, as ever with a driving day, this is very much initial impressions. So please don't consider this a full driving review like we normally do when we've had them for a week or so. Just bear that in mind with everything I'm saying.
On the flip side, you do get spared the button-by-button rundown of the interior.
Yes, I have not done that.
There's something the rest of us can all be happy about.
Yes. The roads I did drive on were a mix of A roads, some of them sweeping, B roads, and urban areas. So I got a real good feel for the type of roads you would expect the Golf to be on. Only thing missing was like a motorway or something like that. But that's part of this is the fact that the Golf is now 50 years old. Happy birthday, Golf.
Yes, happy birthday.
Yeah, they've sold 37 million cars across 70 countries, with almost 2.3 million of those coming to the UK.
That's a lot. That just feels like a lot. 2.3 million to the UK. Wow.
There was numbers there that they started off the presentation with, and I was sort of, they're all very large numbers. That's really impressive. But then you do feel the Golf is ubiquitous. To a large degree, for good reasons. It's not that they've produced a rubbish product. It's something that people have wanted. It's
still always the generic benchmark.
Yes.
Even when it's not been at its finest, it is still the generic benchmark. Everyone else might come along and go, well, actually, Car Mag says, just to make up the name of a car magazine, Car Mag says Focus is the best. But no matter what happens, it's always, the group tests are always, will it beat the Golf?
Yeah. Absolutely.
In the world, etc.
Yeah.
The Golf is always the benchmark. Still.
And over that time with it, they wanted to stress with us that design-wise, they've always approached it as an evolution, which I think we all totally understand when we look at them lined up.
Come on. Only the Porsche 911 can be deemed as more of an evolution of the same right from the start to now over 50 years than longer than that. The Golf, I think. I can get to 4 with the Golf, and then after that it all kind of smushes into one.
It does a bit, but to be fair to them, they have stuck with it. And it would, considering the market that car is in, it would be easy to have done something different, tried to do something radical, or particularly when
you don't do
well, there is that, and we'll come on to the
try. Well, yeah, they do sometimes.
But one thing that they have always, again, they stress this felt was important to the design was the C pillar and how that's a feature apparently. And it is recognizable, to be fair. In all this, the new CEO, well, I say new, he's been there for a little while now, but the CEO of Volkswagen, Thomas Schaefer, has stated that Golf is key to the brand. So whereas before there was that whole ID stuff was coming along, that is no more. Golf is important. The names of recognizable models are important to Volkswagen, and Golf is a very key name and model to the future of Volkswagen. It's going to be continuing, and it is going to be moved on to an EV model when one comes along that is right.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a big shift.
Yes.
I mean, it's a sensible shift.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Kind of.
I mean, there were ways they could have done it otherwise, but they chose not to go down those routes, as we've discussed on the news show before.
Yeah, let's not hyperanalyze it. Oh, well, that's good news then. Excellent. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. This is the new Mark 8.5.
Yes.
We've just said that it's that Golf design has been evolutionary over the last 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about the fantastically obvious differences there are between the 8 and the 8.5.
You do have to squint a bit, to be fair. There are tweaks, and tweak is perhaps over-egging it in some cases, but there are tweaks to the exterior. Well, this is a midlife refresh as well. As much as you and I are poking a bit of fun, we have to recognize they are still constrained by the same base architecture.
It's a minor facelift, let's be honest. I mean, as you say.
Yeah. There's the typical things that happen. There's new LED DRLs. They've, for some reason, decided to light up the surround to the badge. Whatever.
Everybody does that. It's just the thing at the minute. I don't...
Whatever.
I don't object to it.
I just don't like the full width DRL across the front at night. Anyway, forgetting that, they've tidied up the rear as well. But the biggest updates are on the interior. The company, again, they stress that they have listened to feedback, which is a nice way of putting how people reacted and commented on the previous interiors. As we've seen with the new Passat and the Tiguan, they're using the MIB4 infotainment system that has backlit areas for climate control and stuff like that. Maybe in the night times, you can see where you're trying to prod your finger if you need to.
Yeah.
It's also apparently more intuitive to use anyway. They've improved the general software of that as well, we're being told. Again, like the Passat and Tiguan, they're on the MQB Evo platform. And that has allowed things like the plug-in hybrid, which I didn't try and wasn't at the event, to get this is really impressive, 120% increase in electric-only range. So that's at around 88 miles for the style specification, or for the GTE model, 82 miles. That's a lot.
If you've got home charging.
Oh my word, you barely use... If you do the average as well...
Yeah.
Or even a bit more.
Even if you don't do the average. Yeah, even here, I on a good day, I'd be able to get from here to the office and back on electric.
I would really want to try that when that comes out, because that's impressive. Yeah. And furthers what we've always said about plug-in hybrids and gateways to full EV ownership.
Yes, absolutely. No, that's an impressive number.
Yeah. But talking of style and GTE, that brings us on to the trim levels that are now going to be available. Sit down, because there's a few. It starts at the bottom of the range with Life. We move on to Match, then Style, R-Line, Black Edition, and GTE, which is at the top for the hatch. Mm-hmm. The estate is the same as that, except for there's no GTE version.
Okay.
There will be a GTI, a GTI Club Sport, and an R for the performance models in due course. I've already seen some first drives of the GTI have been published by some places.
Right.
They are starting the process of rolling out the performance models now as well.
Mm-hmm. Accepting the performance models, then, going to hit us with the fun selection of powertrains.
Oh, yes. This is Volkswagen, right? This is a German company. There are options. Don't get up from the chair you just sat down in. Maybe get yourself a cup of tea and a sandwich.
It looks like they're almost all the one engine, though.
There is a fair amount of crossover of the same base engine. We start with a 1.5 TSI petrol, 115 PS with a 6-speed manual or 7-speed DSG. They're two different. I've compressed these a bit. There is also a 1.5 TSI 150 PS petrol with a 6-speed manual or 7-speed DSG.
Right.
There is an e-hybrid with a 1.5 TSI petrol giving a total of 204 PS with a 6-speed DSG.
Is the e-hybrid just
It's mild.
a normal
It's a mild
hybrid? Is it mild or is it hybrid?
Mild.
It's mild.
I drove one of those, so we'll go into that when we go on. Then there is also the 2-litre TDI 115 PS 6-speed manual. And
have we not missed one? Sorry. Did we miss the e-hybrid
yes,
of the 1.5 TSI petrol, giving a total of 272 PS, which comes with a 6-speed DSG?
I missed that one. Good job you're here.
I can't imagine how you could possibly miss them in this list.
Yes. And then finally, we have a 2-litre TDI 150 PS with a 7-speed DSG. Estate is similar, but doesn't have the hybrid options.
Okay.
Okay. Right, you can all sort of shake it out now a bit.
And all of those engines are available in most of those trims, yeah?
Yes.
Oh, boy. Good luck, everyone.
Tick the configurators. I have been on it.
To the internet!
I have been on it.
Yes.
It is quite a thing. I mean, congratulations to whoever built that.
That's what Carriad's been doing. Yeah.
Yes. I drove three different cars during the day. I started with the 48-volt mild hybrid combined with the 1.5 TSI petrol engine in estate with the 7-speed DSG in the mid-range spec of style. The car I tested was £35,010, which included options.
That's quite a decent size of, maybe I'm just being numbed to car prices. That's quite a decent size of car and trim level for that money, it seems.
I bet your monthlies are really competitive.
I would, yes, I would imagine.
And I could see that would be very popular on the business options list.
Yeah. I like the Alcantara and pleather interior. Sorry, I'm probably jumping ahead.
Yeah, you are jumping ahead a bit, but that's okay. No, it is very nice. But anyway, the other ones I drove was a 1.5 TSI petrol hatchback with a 6-speed manual. Again, that was in mid-range style spec. That was 32,350, including options. And finally, I drove the 2-litre TDI diesel engine hatchback with a 6-speed manual. And that was in the just above entry-level spec of match. That came in at £30,610, including options. Now, the WLTPs for the various powertrains I tried were, again, it's not too long, this list, so don't worry, I only tried 3. For the mild hybrid, it is 52.3 miles on a combined run. I'm only doing combined miles here, not going through all the permutations.
Thank goodness for that.
Yes. The 1.5 TSI petrol, that's 50.9 miles. And for the 2-litre TDI diesel, it's 63.5 miles. What you would expect from this type of car with those type of engines, honestly.
Yeah. I've just been in the US too long, and they look at those high numbers and go, wow.
Yeah, but you're probably looking at gallons as well.
Well, I was also trying to work out roughly what the price differential is between petrol and diesel in the UK right now. Basically, would you still be cheaper running the petrol hybrids than running the 2-litre diesel?
I think you have to do a lot of miles.
I think you'd really have to, yeah.
Yeah. Colour-wise, there are a variety of silver, grey, black and white colours that Volkswagen offer. And there is also a very nice-looking red and a blue. Apparently, VW insist this is what customers want. They want your monochromes, apparently. But it does sort of beg the question, if you only offer monochrome and that's all that can be bought, how can you tell if they want something else? But that's beside the point.
I still blame Quentin Wilson. Yeah. Totally Quentin Wilson's fault.
100%. I think we can finally get on to what are the cars like. Well, there was a lot to talk about, and 50 years is impressive.
Yeah.
There is some history there that needs to be run through.
Absolutely.
In each of the cars, I will describe a few little different bits where I came across them, but essentially I'm just going to do the one description of these and then highlight particular aspects that the individual's cars had, if it is pertinent.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to sit through me saying the same thing 3 times, and no one wants that.
Well, I don't care about any of you listening, wherever you're listening. I don't want to listen to it.
Immediately, I would say that the interior materials and controls felt good. There was a mix of different types of finishes. So there's cloth, plastics to pleather, the ubiquitous piano black finish.
I was about to say it's quite a lot of piano black in your photos.
Yeah. And again, this is something that they have taken the feedback from on the previous iteration, and they have improved. It all felt really good. It all felt suitable for where it was in the car and how you had to interact with it, if you had to interact with it.
Mm-hmm.
I did not go searching to find any hard plastics. I am sure perverts can do that if they wish to. It's up to you. But I felt that it was a nice place. I felt the materials were suitable. There's things like there's buttons now on the steering wheel instead of the sort of touch-sensitive panels.
Slidey, oops, I've changed the track.
Yes, change the track while trying to reverse into a parking space and all those sort of things. It all felt good. It felt grown up and it felt proper. It didn't feel faddy. It felt like, we know that this is the stuff that works. That's why we've put it here. I was reassured I have to say, particularly considering how things had gone previously for them.
It takes a certain amount of courage to go back and go, actually, no, we were wrong.
Yeah,
Oops.
yeah. No, it does. It does. And that has to be applauded, that they have listened and they have reacted in a positive way to it.
Just quickly, what about comfort? You went straight into the materials and controls and that kind of thing, but you didn't actually say if it was comfortable.
Yeah, the front seat was really nice. I really surprised. It stood out to me that it was comfortable. That's
right.
And that's so odd because I shouldn't have to say that, but it just, particularly in the one that you was talking about, the pictures, the Alcantara in the in the estate, it was just lovely, and you could see for what used to be the photocopier paper sales reps doing the many miles up and down the motorway, they'd feel totally refreshed at the end of their drive, etc.
Physical media duplication consultant.
Yes, they're the ones. I can never remember that properly. But you will be able to drive for hours in this car, and you are going to be, you can adjust the seating to get a perfect driving position, and it's supportive in the right areas. Things like there was just enough from the bolsters.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't like it was pretending to be, I'm a sporty seat or anything like that. But there was just enough that you go, it was just right.
Okay. It's always hard to explain those, isn't
Yes.
it? It's just right is always really hard.
It feels like a cop-out sometimes, but...
Yeah. And this is one of the bits that I'm most looking forward to. Andrew, how did you get on with the infotainment and its touchscreen?
Well, actually, again, I hope people are sitting down. It was fairly positive. It was easy to use. It's a bigger screen than they had previously, which was helpful. I have to say I'm a bit bored of the stuck iPad on dashboard look. I think we can do better than that, but that's a money and design issue.
Yeah, it's just a way of getting the screen high enough that people don't have to look all the way down, you see, as well, without making a massive 80s style dashboard.
I mean, I do sort of understand it, but I think we can do better these days. But anyway, I don't know if the backlit buttons are a massive improvement or not, because it was the middle of the day.
Oh, right.
And I had no need.
Was it the middle of a sunny, warm day?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I could say that in the daylight, I could find them really easily, and they worked as I expected them to work. I want to spend more time with this to really get a feeling with it, because again, you jump in the car, you set the sat nav, you have the temperature where you want, and you're basically just driving. You're not trying to fiddle through all the menus or anything. I didn't explore all the various options that it has in the new software or anything like that. Again, this is not a full review of all that. So if I want to spend more time with it to get a better feeling and just see how it is in day-to-day use in normal driving.
Okay.
But my initial reaction, it seemed perfectly fine. It seemed like it did the things I wanted it to do those few times straight away, and in a way that I expected it to do it.
That's as complimentary as you can really be about it.
Yes, that's as good as I'm going to get.
Something like that in that kind of period.
Yeah.
What about driving then?
Well, yes, driving. The 1.5 petrol engine was fine. Even in mild hybrid, though, it had that really irritating pause from junctions with the accelerator, which I was surprised at.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I mean, I expected it in just the normal, but I'm just wish there wasn't that. You go, oh, there is a space for me to go. I press the accelerator, and now we go, rather than we go.
You see, I have this weird thing, and then it always feels like it's just us that ever comments on this. Maybe I'm not reading enough reviews. Just generally that sort of, or maybe we're just not.
Or maybe everyone's got desensitized.
Maybe we're just not used to modern tiny turbo engines, because I don't have one. You don't have one.
My diesel does exactly the same. I find it really infuriating that, I've asked it to do something and I have to wait. It should just be doing it. And it's markedly so when you get in a full electric.
Yes.
It really hammers home the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. The 2-litre TDI would be my choice. Having tried those, it had oodles of power, particularly for normal driving that you would do on normal roads. And I felt that it would, if I kept asking it still had plenty in reserve. Whereas there were times I felt the 1.5 was like, I'm trying really hard. I am. I'm not saying it was gutless or anything like that, but it just felt like it had to try so much harder than the diesel did. I mean, there's a half a litre's difference in engine size, so that's part of it. And it is a little bit splitting hairs. The 1.5 sometimes just felt more frenetic.
No, I know what you mean.
And because the rest of the time the cars are really quiet and they're well dampened and everything else, when the noise did intrude, you sort of, that's quite noisy.
Just felt a little bit out of place.
Yeah. Again, I think it's just the size of the engine, but the TDI, absolutely lovely. And it should be. They've got plenty of experience of them.
Exactly.
Steering-wise, I found it really quite nicely weighted, whether it was the estate or the hatchback. Very chuck-a-booble. These are the cliches, but it was really easy to drive. The steering wasn't, it was nicely weighted, it wasn't over light, and it wasn't that you suddenly had to go to the gym so you could turn the wheel. The thickness of the steering wheel felt just right for me as well. It just felt very easy to drive. What you would want and expect from such a mainstream and popular car. It was, you get in, you could drive it, and you didn't have to adjust to what the car was going to allow you to do, if that makes sense.
Yes, it sounds like a Golf.
Yes,
Andrew. It sounds like you're describing a Golf.
Yeah, I mean they're pretty quick. Even the 1.5 that wasn't slow in any way. It's refined. The ride was really pretty decent. Generally, I was on nice smooth roads, but there were a few times where I managed to find some uneven and typically British roads. But it handled the potholes and, chasms in some cases really quite well. From that point of view, it's again what you would expect from the Golf. One thing that I was a little bit surprised at, and this was mainly because of how subtle it was some of the driver assistance tech.
Okay.
Now, I left this on, which I like to do in each car I go into, because then I can say, I've tried it.
Who are you and what have you done with Andrew?
No, but at first time out, has this been improved? Is it better? What are the limitations? What are the areas that I find irritating or not, etc.? You can't just go into a new car and switch everything off and then pretend you're going to comment on it.
Well, you can.
Well, you shouldn't. We don't.
We don't.
I think is what I could say there. But I honestly found a few of them really quite subtle. So, for example, the lane keeping assist was, for the most part, unobtrusive. And again, just to remind you, the roads were nicely marked generally, but where the car couldn't see edging markings, it just switched the system off, and it let you know on the screen that it had switched the system off, rather than go, I think I know where the edge is, so I'll make decisions and move you into oncoming traffic, or which I've had with other cars.
I have found in the past that the Volkswagen systems are really quite, they very much suit the way I drive. And I found them, just what you've said, they're pretty unobtrusive. But one of my favorite things, I know you haven't had a chance to test it on here, is the adaptive cruise not undertaking unless you ask it to.
Okay.
And that kind of thing. So I've always found these in Volkswagens to be really quite nicely resolved.
Another one that I found interesting was the speed limit warning system. Sorry, I haven't got the technical term that Volkswagen have decided to give these.
But imagine he used an acronym there.
Yes. Some cars will start pinging at you 1 mile an hour over the perceived limit. And I have to stress that perceived limit that the car thinks you're at. This was more, I think the best way I can describe it is human-like. I'm not trying to pretend it is human-like, but it was more human-like in how it handled the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So there was one time I didn't notice that I was actually about 5 mile an hour over the speed limit coming down into Stratford down a hill, and it was a 30 section, and I noticed because at 35 that was the first time the system pinged at me.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay, yes, that's too fast. Apply the brake, get down to 30. But I could see as I came back, it stopped pinging when I got below 35 and then was just flashing the speed limit at me. And then when I was at 30, it was like a normal sign that you would see, which is the red circle with the 30 mile an hour in it. But when it was flashing, it was red. The number was red as opposed to black. And I thought, actually, that is a much more sensible way to deal with it, because I don't feel I'm being nagged. I was more reminded and helped.
Yes. It was a helper rather than a nag.
Whereas the 1 mile an hour is a nag, and then I'm going, oh no, I'm looking at the speed limit all the time rather than anything else. Whereas this was, I was driving most of the time and then go, oh, right, okay, yeah, right, thank you. Just a little, it was a little tap on the shoulder, just going, just, a little, calm down a little bit. So, oh, yeah, I hadn't noticed. Great, thank you.
It's like the driving instructor going, speed.
Yeah. I like that. When we get a Golf for longer, I will actually try and find out what the criteria or more information about Volkswagen's ADAS systems, possibly speak to some of their people about it and maybe get that on the show approach, just to see how they're approaching it and why they do it the way they're doing it. Because I just found that very interesting and a contrast to others out in the market. Like I said, the roads I drove on were good. They, for the most part, I want to spend time with it locally again, so I've got the infotainment to play with, the ADAS to play with, but also I know with roads around here, I can make systems trigger, do false positives quite easily without being dangerous, just in normal driving, by the way. This is not me suddenly going, I will drive at 50 mile an hour at a wall for no reason at all that no one is expecting. No, I'm just talking normal driving on the public roads.
I seem to remember an occasion where something similar to that did actually happen.
Well, we were instructed to, yes, we filmed it. Or you filmed it.
That ended up through the windscreen from the back seat whenever it all kicked in the Subaru.
Well, the brakes did work.
It did.
I want to see just how well it is calibrated to human driving. But my initial impressions are reasonably favourable. And by that, I mean, I didn't get out of the car raging with anger at systems bleeping or doing things I didn't want it to do. I don't know, is that a huge compliment as far?
That is a huge compliment from you. If we could all just give Volkswagen a quick round of applause for that, please, because goodness knows we're quick enough to stick the boot in at other times. So, if it doesn't leave Andrew raging, okay, win.
Definitely left me impressed.
I'm going to drag you back from your pet peeve of driver assist systems.
Okay.
Actually tell us about the rest of the car again, please.
Oh, yeah. Okay. There's a decent amount of space, as one would expect, in the hatchback and the estate. Well, you hope the estate's got space in it. Boot space for the hatch is 381 litres with the back seats up, and the estate gives you 611 litres, but that is just up to the bottom of the glazing.
Oh.
So whilst those numbers don't sound a lot, you take out the rear parcel shelf, you've actually got that maybe some other manufacturers do when they put their figures in. It's a Golf. You know you're going to get Golf-size boots with this.
Could even fit golf clubs in them, I suppose.
Yes. There were curry hooks in the back on either side, and also there was useful storage behind the rear arches. They had actually sculpted some spaces either side of the flat main boot floor.
Is that just in the estate or in the hatch as well?
There were smaller ones in the hatch, but the ones in the estate are obviously large and looked really useful for various bits of stuff. Underneath the floor, there is the reminder that we no longer get spare wheels, but that they still put the dent in the steel. There is extra storage space there if you want, but never mind. In the rear seats, lots of room back there as well for the size of vehicle. Again, just to reiterate that before somebody becomes smart arse about it all. You are in a particular size segment car. You get good space for that segment car. 2 proper seats either side at the back and a 3/4 one, half one in the middle. Also, I would say that there are 2 USB-C charging points in the back of the central cubby, and also you get to change the temperature for the air. Well, you do in the style. I forgot to check in the match whether they had that option as well.
But still, that's still quite.
Yeah,
is it just I assume it's just the mix of warm and
it's cold,
warm to cold rather than cool, rather than setting their own climate.
Yeah. It's Front passengers, plenty of space.
Yeah.
The seats are really comfy, like I said before. Yes, I'm old. Yes, this matters. The central touchscreen is angled slightly to the driver, making it easier to reach across. And if you need to touch the top left-hand corner, you're not having to then sort of lean out of your seat to get to it or anything like that. It's actually easy to hit.
That was some method voice acting you've just heard there.
I was going to say, though, it's almost as though that spreadsheet where they were checking the touch points on the interiors of cars has actually borne some fruit.
Well, don't diss it.
No, I'm not. I celebrate it. All the controls are exactly where you'd expect them.
Did they fall easily to hand?
The ones that you wanted to fall easily to hand fell easily to hand. Whenever I needed to interact with the various bits, it was intuitive. It was easy. I didn't have to think about it. Again, it's just what you would expect.
It's a Golf.
Overall, if it was down to me, I'd have the Estate because I love an Estate, but I'd have the diesel engine. And the style spec had so much stuff in it, I'm not sure I'd need to go higher up.
Right.
Really?
Okay. Cool. As everybody reaches for the configurator.
Yes. Do enjoy that. It is good fun on that one.
I think I would have it in a not flat grey of the test car that you had. It was.
I think I'd go for the red
Oops,
myself.
we forgot the paint grey.
I think when I was on the configurator, there is only one colour at the moment that doesn't appear to have a charge. But on that, it does say costs may be incurred. So I don't think they've decided.
At least one colour must be.
No, at the minute, it doesn't have a pound on it, a pound price, but it just says it may.
Okay. Well, I'm sure it'll be different. Speak to a dealer, etc.
Yeah.
Overall, Andrew, you drove a Golf. It felt like a Golf. You quite liked the Golf.
Yeah,
that's the feeling I'm getting.
This has been really tricky, actually. I know it sounds like it should be easy, but I found this episode really tricky because whilst they have addressed a lot of the problems or issues that people had with the previous Golf, I was driving around and looking at and interacting with what I was going, this is a Golf. It looks like a Golf. It feels like a Golf. It drives like a Golf, and it's being a Golf. How am I going to explain that a Golf is a Golf?
It's like that the advert, isn't it? Well, it feels like it's like a Golf, like a Golf, like a Golf as they go through it all.
Yeah. But maybe that's the point, though. Maybe it's enough because we've had them on the road for 50 years and they've listened to feedback that being a Golf is exactly what it needed to be.
Yeah.
And people will get what they are expecting. Maybe that's the compliment.
I think that's the secret of why Golf has been so popular for so long, though.
And as you were saying earlier before we pressed record, the benchmark.
Yeah.
The benchmark for others, even if it wasn't class leading, still people would refer to the Golf.
Yeah, it's the one that everybody goes back to. Sorry, I just got distracted by the configurator because I'm such a grown-up.
Well, just give this opportunity to say thank you to Volkswagen's UK PR team for inviting me, for ensuring it's one of the few days of the year there was actually full-on sunshine, and for dealing with all the questions I had. That was very much appreciated. Thank you for that.
I'm sure they did it politely rather than through gritted teeth like the rest of us.
They were. They smiled and everything, and then
they are. Then
now
nice,
they just won't pick up the phone to me. I'm joking. Yeah. I haven't tried phoning.
they're nice folk.
Yeah.
Nice folk. Excellent. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Volkswagen. Don't forget, folks, that between now and next time, you can give us any feedback, share your thoughts with the show at Motoring Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, or on Facebook and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Please don't forget to leave a review or rating on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever your podcast app lets you do such a thing. Andrew, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is if you search for Crap Windscreen on Mastodon, or if you look on LinkedIn under my full proper name. And Alan, if people would like to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Any of the social media platforms used by grown-ups. It would be great. On every instance, I am at AJP Bradley. That's BRADLEY. We will be back before very long. But until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.